Golden Valley.
That's my family
Now,
crest.
did you grow up in...
It's gone. There's no hope
You grew
left.
up in Golden Valley, right?
I did, the mean streets of Golden Valley. We used to huff paint behind the Terrace Mall. All right. Now, I was going to try and read this like John Lithgow.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Because I think that if you write a book and you have to do a book on tape, you got to get John Lithgow to read it. If John Lithgow reads your book, it's going to sell. I have this weird feeling that John Lithgow reads the hell out of books. You know what I mean?
Himself?
Books on tape. John Lithgow, think about that. He's killing it.
Have you heard any books that he's written?
Of course. He does them. He does most of them.
Can you name one?
Oh, I can name them all. I mean, all the Dan Brown books.
Okay.
Dan thinks he's the only one that understands esoteric history. That's the problem. You know, he pops it out for the bourgeois, but there's real stuff under there. He thinks he's got the key. But he's just doing this Oprah thing, and I don't like that. You know, there's real stuff behind that, you know what I mean? And he's selling it out to, like, Secretary's Night Out, you know what I mean? I don't like that about Dan Brown. Fuck Dan Brown. All right, here we go.
So this is from Steinbeck. This is from what book?
I'm not going to read this, am I? This is ridiculous.
No, that's great. You wanted to do it.
Okay. This is just a real quick paragraph that he cites Golden Valley. Maybe Golden Valley's proud of this, but he actually drove by and he never got to see it, and he really regrets it, and he regrets kind of driving past the Twin Cities because he'd heard so much about whatever. So this might be the whole thing. I still have the arrogant plan into St. Paul on Highway 10, then gently across the Mississippi. The S-curve in the Mississippi here would give me 3 crossings of the river. This is already really boring. I mean, the syntax of that sentence sucks. After this pleasant jaunt, I meant to go through Golden Valley, drawn by its name. That seems simple enough, and perhaps it can be done, but not by me. First, the traffic struck me like a tidal wave and carried me along. A bit of shiny flotsam bounded in front by a gasoline truck half a block long. Behind me was an enormous cement mixer on wheels, its big howitzer revolving as it proceeded. On my right was what I judged to be an atomic cannon. As usual, I panicked and got lost. I ended up at the Red Lobster. No. Like a weakening swimmer, I edged to the right. I had this idea. You know what? I have this idea of our Red Lobster. And for real. Lobsters are expensive. Okay? Like a good lobster. I think in order for, if the first meeting I would have with the Red Lobster people, to cut the bottom line down in today's economy, selling lobster has got to be difficult. Especially lobsters that are like been out of the water for weeks, like the ones they sell. Here's what you do, man. You go down to Bassett Creek in Golden Valley. You get a bunch of crayfish out of there. I used to do it all the time. You get a tank that's a giant tank, but it's also a magnifying glass. And you have people pick out their lobster, and there's these little crayfish. For real now, hear me out on this idea, man.
So they think they're getting a lobster.
They think they're getting a lobster. I want that one. And then they can't see that it's this magnifying glass, right? And so they go, okay, we'll bring it out, you know. And sit down, you pull the crayfish out, throw that thing away. That's actually not cool. Put him back in the creek. And then you get some sort of whitefish mixture, and you say, we'll shell him for you, because no one in Golden Valley wants to shell their own lobster. This isn't a cultural experience. You're not in like some Massachusetts town. You want your lobster shelled for you. And you don't want any of that lobster mustard either. Trust me. You get some glommy piece of whitefish molded in the tail of a lobster. You sell that, and you're killing it. Within months, you've turned Red Lobster around. You can ride high on this idea for a few years before somebody gets wise. And I think, honestly, at that point, you sell them all off. You sell off all the Red Lobsters. You open a fake competitive, now it's really getting heavy, called Blue Lobster. That reminds me, Happy Apple attempted to open a motel, and we've told this story once or twice before. We attempted to have some sort of money venture where we opened our own motel, and we were threatened with a lawsuit because we were going to call our motel Motel 7. That's not a joke. And we were going to call it Motel 7, and our catchphrase, truthfully, and we said it today, okay, that's the time. Our catchphrase was, their catchphrase is Motel 6. Motel 6's catchphrase is, we'll leave the light on for you. Motel 7's was, we will turn the light on for you once you arrive. Anyway, he goes on and on about he just misses St. Paul and Minneapolis here, and it's not a big deal. But we found it kind of funny or interesting that Golden Valley is cited in a Steinbeck novel, and I mean in a Steinbeck, in his travel diary, and it was just an interesting thing. So one of our plans is to kind of have that quote maybe as a bio or something. It's something to use it in some different way than just like this guy plays this and this guy plays this, that type of thing.
Right.
And that's the city we all kind of grew up in. And
right. And New York is now, and it's Golden Valley is now.
exactly.
Yeah.
New York was then.